Hello and welcome to Nick V Uncensored. Today we've got Lewis Herms and we're going to be discussing the white lines that we see in the sky, of course. We're going to talk about the laws regarding that in some states that have outlawed that. We're going to talk about the pineal gland, hidden tech, and we're going to go into the body as well. Lewis, thank you so much for joining me. I was just also going to say to the viewers, actually, because we're back on YouTube, that we're just going to have I'm just going to read out a disclaimer or say the disclaimer just to protect us from violating anything we don't want to do. And that's just to let you guys know that everything that we're talking about today is for educational and entertainment purposes. To do your own research. We are not financial or health advisors. We're not making any claims. This is just to explore the space, have open opinion, open thought, and remember to do your own research. Lewis, thank you so much for joining me. How are you, and what have you been up to?
Hey, this is pure tinfoil hat talk, fakery. None of it's real. Okay, there's the disclaimer.
Wow. And I tell you what, that's exactly what Michael Jackson would do probably if he was a truther, right?
Right, exactly.
I mean, he was a truther, but imagine, I guess that's what he did right up his ass. I mean, right up his road.
Oops, blooper.
Exactly.
It's so true. But you know what? We have to kind of mock the system and have fun with it because it is pretty hilarious what affects them. So today we're going to talk about white lines in the sky. So some people may interpret that of Zeus or Aphrodite snorting lines of cocaine. That's fine. Whatever you think those white lines are, that's up to you. But there are white lines in the sky all the time. Some people say it's a con. If you know what I mean by that, that would be the end of an airplane that crystallizes with ice and then it disappears really quickly.
Well, actually, it's not a conspiracy theory because everyday people, sorry, Lewis, to cut you off, people do see them in the sky.
All the time.
Yeah, so it's not, we know them. If you speak to a scientist or someone in the mainstream media, they will tell you what it is. They will just give you a mainstream, they wouldn't call it what we call it.
No, they'll call it a contrail.
A contrail.
Right, which is, by the way, that's a line that stays shorter in the sky and disappears really quickly, and it's made out of like ice crystals because it's the way the vapors go through the back, and those are real, no problem. And then there's those longer white lines that tend to stay longer, and then magically all these clouds appear in the sky afterwards. Those are the white lines that we're talking about today.
Yeah, apparently so, right?
Okay, apparently, cool. Allegedly.
So are you saying, so let's just talk about it on the surface level. So these trails, because I've noticed, first of all, some states have stopped it, right?
Tennessee, Florida, Louisiana, Arizona, Iowa, South Dakota, and Texas all have either signed it already or it's pending a signature to stop and outlaw the white lines in the sky. And then there's Alabama, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, and Utah are on the road to doing the same thing.
Interesting. That's
really
fake,
good news. Because that's what happens is when things are fake, they outlaw them in Congress.
And I'll tell you something. When these are signs of the system collapsing.
Yes.
Everything is collapsing slowly. You can see it. People are no longer trusting media, banking. They want Bitcoin. They're looking at alternative solutions for health, education for their children. They're speaking more freely. They're more curious. And what this does is our awareness is collapsing the illusion, which is all spiritual. Yes, it's spiritual. It's all frequency. We're collapsing the frequency architecture of the matrix, the simulation. And because in the new frequency, these systems, are having a difficult time existing, we're seeing a slow shift in collapse. And that's what we're seeing. And that's what you're saying right now. And that's one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a beautiful thing. We're in an awakening phase now. I believe that is in the momentum phase because I can tell you, people I talked to 5 years ago, I was a crazy tinfoil hat wearing psycho, and now I mentioned the same things in conversation. People like, let me hear what you have to say. That's huge. That is huge. And every once in a while, you'll get somebody that just freaks out over it, like I had this weekend. And then I explained a couple of things, and then the guy came around. He's like, "Well, I guess you're right, right?" Because his triggered response was what has been manipulated and embedded in him. So if we're talking about the white lines, let's talk about what's in a lot of the white lines and why. It's because this is how they create weather. That's what they say. And maybe it's just for creating weather, but it still has side effects because it has strontium in it, barium, aluminum oxide, cesium 137. There's a lot of things within inside of these. So what I decided to do is I dug deeper today and I said, let me see what the side effects of some of these things are, right? So I go to strontium and I wrote it over here because I did not memorize this. Gastrointestinal upset, nausea, diarrhea, stomach pain, skin irritation. Can you imagine that? That stuff just happens to be floating around us. Who knows how they get there? Wink, wink. So then it also has, check this out, skeletal issues, bone defects, rickets, changing in the size of your bones, potential cardiovascular risks, heart disease, blood clots, anemia, disrupted calcium, vitamin D uptake. Radioactive forms are even worse. It'll give you what appears to be radiation sickness. This is stuff that is actually in the white lines that is floating in our air. Think about that. Then it goes down to it affects children and pregnant individuals, and especially if they have calcium deficiency or kidney impairment. It attacks those that have that and makes it a lot worse, right? So this is scary stuff. So let's go to the one that most people know about, barium, right? Barium, again, gastrointestinal issues, vomiting, diarrhea. It could affect your potassium levels. And say if you have low potassium levels, it seems to affect yours. Muscle weakness, paralysis, irregular heartbeat, hypertension. All of these things we hear daily seem to even be increasing, right? Kidney damage, cardiovascular effects, blood pressure.
Where are you getting this from?
This I just did search on each one of, I said side effects. For example, this was side effects of barium. What are the side effects of barium intake? There it is. Because these are the known things that we know are in the air.
Oh, I see.
We know
what you mean.
this.
Yeah.
We know it. It's not even speculation anymore. So it gives muscle weakness, paralysis, irregular heartbeat, similar to the other ones, kidney damage, yada, yada, yada. And they've tested this. Barium used to be affecting workers that were mining back in the day, right? And they would notice they would have effects for heart disease, kidney stuff, and so on and so forth. So it's there. And then now you add aluminum oxide to the mix, which we 100% know is in the air. It's been tested, right? Again, so this is interesting because a lot of people are having these issues: eye, skin, nose, throat irritation, coughing, wheezing, shortness of breath, chills, flushing, fatigue. I hear there's like an epidemic of fatigue going on right now. Everybody's talking about being fatigued, and muscle aches. And this is just from inhaling that. So this is inhalation, and that's what we get. Lung damage, pulmonary fibrosis, neurotoxicity. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. Oxidative stress. It seems like everybody knows about oxidative stress now. There you go. Aluminum oxide is directly connected to that. And then we go to this weird one that I've been researching called cesium 137, right? It's ingestion and inhalation. Here's how it affects. It actually can burn radioactively inside of you, cause nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, bleeding, acute sickness like a fatigue or fever, skin rashes and redness, and increased risk of the big C, so on and so forth. But here's what's interesting. It can actually change your cells and your DNA by the way it damages it. And it could highly affect your reproductive system. So, and of course, your bone marrow and so on and so forth. This is big stuff. That's what's floating around. again, Nick, these are just the known. What we know is which already been tested by practitioners, and they can tell you this is what's floating around in the air, which happens to be what they use in the white lines to make things rain, if you know what I mean.
I see
It's
what you mean.
crazy.
So is this the reason why they're outlawing it in certain states? Is this the basis they're using?
I believe, yes, absolutely. This is what they're talking about. They call it something other than white lines, obviously, but this is why they're doing it, because they understand how it affects people. But I want to take it down a completely different route. You and I have talked about a little bit about this, and this is, I don't call this my expertise, but I'm very well versed in it. I believe it's a more sinister effect than what they say. They say they want to, quote unquote, help with the weather, which we already know. We've seen Hurricane Helene, and we've seen a lot of things, right? So we know that can be manipulated. But I really, really think this affects deeply our pineal gland.
Okay.
And why is that so important? Because our pineal gland is in directly, that's for intuition, our higher consciousness, right? Our connection to the divine. The baddies want to attack that higher than anything else, because this is the more that we have a higher resonance and intuition and connection to the divine, that's the faster that we destroy the bad people that are doing what they're doing to us, right?
I think the main key, absolutely. I think the main key here is that the agenda is to disconnect us from our intuition.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so that we become programmable. We don't, when we make decisions based on everyday life, we make decisions based on algorithmic program rather than our intuition, because your intuition is connected to the God source, or to the Christ field, or to the
Absolutely.
Christ consciousness. That's what we are. We're Christ consciousness. So when you connect to your intuition, you know something through a vibration before your brain understands it.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to disconnect us from that. And the reason for that is because of us accepting certain programs of the control system that will permanently enslave us without being able to reverse. And that's what it is. It's to so that we could give consent, unconscious consent.
Mm-hmm.
A bit like what they did with saying, well, if you don't have this, then you can't travel, for an example. And when you say, well, okay, I'm going to take this because I want to travel, you've now given unconscious consent. And when you give consent, whether conscious or unconscious, it's not Lewis Herms giving consent, it's your soul giving consent, because that's what you are. It's a spiritual violation. They can't bypass free will, so they need you to give consent, even unconscious consent.
Yeah, well, and I wholeheartedly agree. I believe we have a straight line to God. That's why I've always said I don't need a pastor or a church to stand in the middle and tell me I can't speak to the divine myself. I think there's some very good churches out there, some very good pastors, and then I think there's a whole corporate church structure and false doctrine that actually tries to make you go through them. We have a direct connection to the divine. I have no doubt about that whatsoever. And I call it the God spark. And what happens is, with all these chemicals and that thing that we know that they try to force everybody to take, it gets rid of that. But I'm going to go specifically what we know prevents or calcifies. A lot of people say calcifies the pineal gland, which really shuts it down. Fluoride and chemicals, right? And I've been talking for years, negative energies affect it. So we must be as positive as we can and not allow negative energies into our space. Heavy metals affect it, right? Lack of any spiritual practice, and that means you're direct, intentionally trying to connect with God, the divine, Christ, right? I read about something today and it really hit me. Over reliance on materialistic or ego-driven things. That's another way that you're calcifying your pineal gland, and it makes total sense. Poor lifestyle choices in diets, processed food, sugar is huge on that list, and that's been one of my issues, and it is really really bad. Or of course, artificial additives, right? And as you've talked about, insufficient exposure to natural light. Um, Disrupted sleep cycles. There's a lot that goes on. And I'm going to add something that people don't talk about, but I believe it directly affects your pineal gland. We get over 20,000 messages or marketing messages every single day. Now, we may not think we see them, but our subconscious is processing those constantly, right? That again helps calcify the pineal gland. And we must, I believe, actively do everything we can to clarify our pineal gland. Some people call it the third eye, whatever they want to call it, right? Because it's what makes us who we are, and what I really feel. And think about this, it's like peanut size.
Mm-hmm.
The baddies, the deep state, the swamp, whatever we want to call it, spend virtually all their efforts to affect this little peanut sized part of our body. Think about that. Why do they do that? Because that's the part they fear the absolute most. Hands down, that's the one.
Of
If
course,
if
yeah.
they can suppress our freedom of thought and our intuition, as you said it, they've got us. They have got us. But
It,
there's good news, through all of it.
absolutely. Their biggest fear is us using our intuition and saying no. Something is not right here. We've decided we don't want to go ahead. It's no. Because
Strongest two letters in the English language, Nick Veniamin just said it, and that's no.
no, yeah. And the thing is, they can have all these systems in place and lock us in with this, digital ID. I'm just giving you an example of one of their programs. But it doesn't matter if it's in place. It doesn't matter if they've got the infrastructure there, which I think they don't. I think it's going to have glitches, it's going to break down, it's going to have problems. They just don't have the infrastructure. But what I'm saying is, even if they do, when we say no, their systems become isolated from its people. And parallel systems are already existing right now.
Exactly. And that's the key. We need to enter our parallel society. We have to have parallel systems, parallel economy. That's the way that we win, because what we're doing is we're detaching from the baddie system and creating our own, which is true sovereignty, is when we create our own. True freedom is when we create our own systems. So I promise people when I'm running for governor is I'm going to be as focused as I can and learn as much as I can. So in the health field, I've been spending a lot of time, traveled to Ireland to learn about health stuff that I never knew about, which I'll talk about here in a second. Yesterday, I met a guy, and he has an amazing clinic in Westlake Village, California. He is so progressive in thought, and what he does is incredible. And he uses this bioresonance equipment to determine what could be wrong with you. So my wife and I went on it. Now, we told him nothing intentionally, because I always like to test these people to make sure they're not gypsies, right? So we told him nothing. And his bioresonance equipment literally told us everything in our body that we already knew was going on. I was like, wow, incredible. So the technology is out there right now. And then he really educated us on things that I never thought about. A hiatal hernia, I didn't think much about, can affect so many organs in your body in processing. And his research is finding out that big, scary third letter of the alphabet that everybody talks about is connected. It seems like most of them, if not all, have a hiatal hernia. And he's shown there's ways to just adjust it and supplement and take care of it. I was on some incredible healing modalities that I'd like to talk about. We've well, one thing I like to talk about. Have you ever heard of an iridologist? Most people haven't.
Yeah.
An iridologist that we've visited, and she's in California. She actually scans your eyes, and she does a full diagnosis of your body scanning your eyes, and she's hyper accurate. In fact, my son said this is witchcraft because he was like, it's just amazing how accurate she was. So now we have technologies out there where you can scan an eye, and if you have somebody, an expert, they can tell you everything about what's going on in your body. And even without a blood test, they can do this bioresonance and tell you everything that's going on, and they're accurate as hell. Okay, so we know that now we have the testing equipment that's out there that's just incredible. What healing modalities do we have, right? So I'm going to give some new ones that people may not be familiar with, and several people on here, I think you have a pretty smart audience already know. So a few times I've already got to use the PMF system. It's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, right? It's incredible. So you have these electric pulses that go through your body from the bottom and through the top, right? And you feel it all through your body. And oftentimes, for me, where I have an issue, I feel it more. So it's sparking things in your body, so your body starts to heal. Because ultimately, you know what I found is consistent, Nick? Everything that I've gone on doesn't really heal us. It activates our body to heal itself because God made us perfect. And that's what's beautiful about it. So I've been used yesterday on my neck they used something called scalar technology, which is kind of like a shocking thing on the neck, but it detects stuff. Wow, I have virtually no movement in my neck. And I was like, yesterday, I'm like, wow, look at this. This is awesome. And it was not locking up. One treatment. And I'll continue to do these, right? We had something called Sansa that I used in Mark Atwood's facility in Ireland. There's UVR and UVB that are huge. Brown gas technology now. What do you call it? The hyperbaric chambers, right? We all know about frequency healing. We were doing frequency healing just yesterday. There's this lady now that does something called a master reset, where she does something with your head and neck and your spine all at one time, and you suddenly your fluids are flowing differently. And she's got amazing results from this.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm so excited what's going on. And now there's also, as we know, our good buddy has nano supplementation, where it's nano sized, where we can get the absolute best results from glutathione, NAD, zeolite, and other things because it's nano sized, which is about the smallest you can get it. Take it sublingually, and you get it a lot better than you get in the blood for 1/100th of the cost that some of these treatments have. You know what they all have in common again, though? They all connect with your body and your mitochondria, and that does the work for you. It's incredible, incredible. And I'm seeing beautiful story after beautiful story, and people had a death diagnosis, let's just call it that, and now they don't. Over and over and over. Now, if it was two or three, it would be something. But Nicholas, with my research and my having these conversations and looking at these things and traveling all over, I've traveled into certain states, I've traveled all over the country. Who I thought I knew a lot about this stuff, I'm blown away. We're talking hundreds of thousands of people with dramatic results stepping away from our medical mafia allopathic system. It's just amazing.
I think this is the future. And as we awaken and as the electromagnetic field thins from our previous show or that we did, and people wake up and the sun gives us more solar flares and flashes and spikes our consciousness, we're going to get to a point where our Atlantean memory is going to be coming back. We are going to be it's going to be flooding back within us, and the veil is going to be thinning, and we are going to start remembering the Atlantean technology that we had. And this is what this is. This is what you're talking about. All this frequency tech and all these techniques with the head and stuff like that. This is all Atlantean ancient technology, the forgotten.
Right. And you know who remembered most of it? Tesla.
Interesting.
And Tesla was taken off the map for it.
Well, you know
Right.
something? I asked ChatGPT about Nikola Tesla, and Nikola Tesla, according to ChatGPT, had full soul memory. Hey, isn't that interesting?
Interesting. Right. Well, we do know the one time Einstein told the truth is when they said, "How does it feel to be the smartest man in the world?" He says, "I don't know. You'd have to ask Nikola Tesla about that."
I thought you were going to say
That's
Nicholas Veniamin.
yeah. Well, what's it?
Amazing.
You're the reincarnation, right? So, but
When you said
it's
Nikola Tesla, I thought you were going to say my name. I was like,
I know
what?
it's fascinating, right? And it gets better. I may or may not, wink, wink, be having an appointment with somebody that's going to show me some military tech for healing that is a whole nother level. And this is interesting, right? So these are the type of things that we're bringing. The nanotechnology is already there through supplementation. I'm sure Nick has a link below. You can go to Sorona and pick out all their products, their elixir, their NAD, and they're just phenomenal, phenomenal. But me as running for governor, I promise people it's more like a guardianship. So I'm running for guardian. I want to do the best for we, the people we possibly can. So we are working day and night, scouring the earth for the best health modalities and everything else that we possibly can for you because it's about we, the people. And if we can't be the best we can be, we're going to be taken over. And this is our last ditch effort, in my opinion. It really is.
Absolutely. If I was in California, I would definitely choose you because you know what, Lewis? You run from empathy, from awareness. You're very present and you operate from awareness. And it's very hard to find that in the control system. A lot of them, it's all about money or ego, or we need people like you. And if there's any volunteers out there, I want you to click on the link below, and anyone that can make a donation to Lewis Herms for his candidacy of governor of California, the link will be below. Please help him. Please donate, vote, volunteer if you can. I'm going to leave the link below in the description for that as well. And for Cyrona, thank you very much, Lewis, for mentioning that. But yeah, that would be great. I think, Lewis, I think you're going to do a great job. And I really support you. If there's anything that I can do to help, please let me know. But Lewis, it's been a great show. Thank you very much for sharing all of that with us today. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the viewers before we finish?
No, just check us out at our website, which the link is below. And I think we've already put 17 issues and 17 solutions. We don't run from anything. This is all about we the people. I don't give a damn of what any establishment wants to tell us what we're supposed to do. If it doesn't align with the people's values, we're not interesting. We're interested. Where California goes, the rest of the world is going to follow. Let's just be realistic. So we have to lead by example. So if you're in Bosnia, right, you can still donate to our campaign. You could even volunteer for a campaign because there's phone work and there's other things that can be done. So, folks, we've got this. If you have any suggestions for us, you are we the people. So send it our way and we'll do our best to implement it. And God bless you,
Absolutely.
Nick. You're always there
No,
for me. I appreciate it.
of course. And God bless you too. Thank you. Bye bye.